What are we going to talk about today? Well, in today's 21st century skills, we are going to continue our discussion on broad outcomes of these various skills. Now, what does that mean again? Broad outcomes means that if you are doing these skills, if you are exercising them, what are some of the outcomes that you can expect, that you can look for? These are enablers. Enablers mean that you're going to be able to use something to accomplish something. Use one of these skills in this area to accomplish your goals. It just so happens that the broad umbrella for today's discussion is leadership. Leadership. We talked about it the other day, Now we're going to be looking at some of the broad outcomes or characteristics of good leadership. A person who can influence the outcome by working with a team of other people. A leader never works alone. A leader, as it says, a team leader works with a team. And the leader gets things done through the team. The leader doesn't necessarily do all the things that have to be done in order to achieve the goal, but they guide their team with people that have certain skills that can accomplish pieces of that goal. They guide them so that at the end, all these pieces come together harmoniously in order to achieve their outcome. So a good leader inspires others to want to achieve the goal. I learned a long time ago what the difference was between a leader and a manager. And you should write this down. It's a profound statement. Naturally, I didn't come up with it. Someone told it to me. But a manager controls. A manager controls or tries to control the actions of others. Constrained, channeled in a very narrow path, okay? According to lots of rules. I'm thinking you've probably seen some people like that. I'm the boss. We're going to do it this way and this way and this way. In my opinion, it's not a very effective mechanism because people's hearts aren't in it. The people then put all the responsibility for the outcome on the leader because they've got no stake in it. They just do what they're told, like little robots. Yeah. That's not fun. Now, a leader inspires. A leader inspires. That means that a leader will look for opportunities to lift people up, to get their input, to respect their knowledge and their work, and ask them how they feel they can contribute to this goal. What a leader wants to do is get the team members engaged and involved in the outcome. Then they take ownership of it. So it's no longer just the leader's goal, it's our goal. See? How much better is that? It's more fun. People get to share ideas. They get to express themselves. They get to respect others for their ideas and have their ideas respected. It's a win-win all the way around. A good leader is a precious, precious commodity. And good leaders are rare. it took me, way back in my career, I was a real, in my world, I was a crackerjack programmer. I could write code that was almost perfect the first time. I learned how to analyze problems and just all right brain stuff because I was working by myself. No big deal. And, I'd get all pats on the head and raises and stuff like that. One fine day, my boss said, "Wow, you're so good at this, you'd make a good manager." This is what they called it, the manager of the department. And lead a group of programmers and analysts and computer operators. And in our day, we had people called key punchers, where we had cards where data was encoded, right, for input to the computers. And naturally, I was thrilled. I thought, wow, next step up the corporate ladder. Well, I made every stupid mistake known to man. As a matter of fact, for a while, I was a real jerk. Because I thought the way you manage is to kind of control people's action, to look over their shoulders, as it were, to make sure they're doing what they were supposed to be doing. I.e., I didn't trust them. I didn't trust them to do the job. So how do you think they felt about me? You're right. They thought I was a jerk. And fortunately, I had one of my team during coffee break one day. He said, "Bob, do you know what you're doing?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You're alienating the team against not only you, but what we're supposed to accomplish. You don't trust people. You don't give them the credit for their ideas. They don't feel like contributing. Oh, they'll put in their time, but you're not going to really get anything done." And fortunately, at least I was smart enough to listen. I said, "What do you suggest?" "Tell them what the whole project is about. Assign them their piece, see if they understand it, and if they have the proper tools to get it done, and then let them do it. We'll meet each week and we'll monitor progress. And when somebody comes up with a good idea or they're ahead of schedule and their assigned task, praise loudly. Praise loudly. That's a great job. You're well ahead of schedule." And then others will see that and know that you respect them as a person, you respect their intelligence, their work, their ability to get a job done without standing over their heads. These are valuable lessons. I hope you don't have to learn them the hard way like I did. If you remember these words, you won't fall into that trap. As a leader, first and foremost, you must respect your team members as people. Secondly, you have to respect their intelligence and assume that they want to do a good job. Now, naturally, I don't like to make assumptions, but if you're going to start with one, start with a positive one. Assume they want to do a good job. And then ask them their opinions. Value their opinions. Ask them if they need any help, if they're stumbling somewhere. Tell them, I'll get you the resources necessary, or I'll help. Whatever it is you need, I'll do my best to provide it. So you see how this goes? You're trying to enable the people to get their job done and let them know they're not alone. This fosters something which has to be earned and is very valuable. And it's called trust. Trust. You earn trust. You can't demand it. And those are some of the ways in which you earn the trust of others. Now, naturally, if someone is really messing up, you take them off to the side and counsel them one-on-one. There's another leadership tactic. So write this one down. Praise loudly, but criticize softly. Never, ever criticize someone in front of others. Ever. You will immediately lose their trust and their respect. Take them off to the side. Ask them what the problem is. Tell them your observations. Ask them if those are correct observations based on what you're seeing. Keep it objective, not emotional. As soon as you bring emotions into the situation, you've lost the game. You lost the game. Now, part of being a good leader is being flexible and adaptable. So the outcome of flexibility and adaptability is you're ready to change. Adapt to various multiple roles, jobs, responsibilities, schedules, and the context. Work effectively in scenarios of changing priorities. These are not easy. If you're going off here in this direction full tilt, and all of a sudden your boss says, whoa, wait a minute, now instead of doing this, we got to do this. It's like stripping gears in a car. It can be very disruptive, but you've got to remember that life is all about change. Life is all about change. What you can do is you can let your boss know you realize that we're going to lose a certain amount of time, a certain amount of productivity if we're changing direction. We have to stop this one, ramp up this one, get used to this direction. That is going to have a certain amount of inertia or drag associated with it. So your job is not to disagree. Your job is to tell your boss the impact of the change and just ask the simple question, is it worth it? You know, if we lose 5 days because of the switchover in priorities, is that worth it given what we were chartered to accomplish? Let them make the decision, because one would think that in their position they should be, God willing, intelligent enough to be able to evaluate that. And if they say, yes, we have to do it. It came from the top of the mountain, so we just got to do it. Then you say, then can we adjust the schedule, to accommodate for this downturn in productivity? You see how this is going? What you're looking for is, here's the impact, to the project. Is it worth it? If we're going to do it, let us calculate in our plan, which is a time-based task list, calculate in the plan and see how many additional days before we should be finished, given this change in priorities. So you just don't roll over and say, yeah, sure, because if you do, you're going to get hammered. You probably will not make your goals, and then it'll be your fault. You don't want that, because it's not your fault. You were dictated. the changes in priority, weren't you? So if you want to do a CYA, though I would rather say it was an intelligent way of understanding impact. CYA means cover your butt, so that you don't get hammered for something you had no responsibility for. So try to remember these things. Always give feedback, always give consequences, impacts. Be intelligent. You know, if necessary, sir, can you give me a half a day so I can evaluate the impact of this change on our project or my part of the project? And usually I would say that they will. Now there are some times when, God forbid, you run up against a real jerk. And they just say, no, just do it. Do as I tell you. Then you could be in trouble. Because now you're just having something shoved down your throat, and the best you can do is forge ahead as best you can. But if you have a good open dialogue with your boss or with your leaders, they will respect you for taking the time to evaluate the impact, because they won't know the impact. They're that far away from it. You're going to know the impact because you're right down in the ditch. You're digging the hole. So if anybody should know the impact, you should. Okay? Please remember this stuff. It'll save your butt in times where things get really dicey, things get problematic. Be flexible. Incorporate feedback effectively. Deal positively with praise, setbacks, and criticism. Understand, negotiate, and balance diverse views, beliefs to get solutions, particularly in a multicultural environment. Well, now we're back inside the team. So we need to remain flexible. We may have ideas how things should go. And we may be right, but we can't shove our rightness down somebody's throat. They have to understand it, and they have to embrace it and or modify it. Okay? Because nobody has all the right answers. But together, many people can come up with good ideas. And this sharing of ideas and the leader's willingness to incorporate others' ideas into the project because they believe that this will help you achieve your goals easier. This is called being flexible. You're not getting stuck in one way of looking at things. So, as a leader, you solicit, you ask for ideas. Because the more ideas, then write them down. Don't just get an idea and sit there like a stone. Get an idea, write it down. That does two things. Okay? If somebody answers a question of yours, and regardless if it's a good idea or a bad idea, say thank you, write it down. Because this will also tell the person who gave you the idea that you respect their knowledge, that you respect them. Then they will be more likely to contribute later on. And the more people communicate, the more they contribute, the more likelihood that you have of getting all the best ideas. You don't have to evaluate those ideas right then and there, but write them down. And the other reason is our memories are terrible. Don't try to remember everything. We're not that good. Write it down. Write it down. So many times I've been talking in a class, coming up with what I think are good ideas that are useful, and people just sitting there like this, like stuffed toys. It's like, you don't think this is worth anything? You don't think that this is something you might need in the future? Obviously, these people are going to have to learn the hard way. They'll get hammered. And then maybe they'll remember Bob Surd's words at Global, only after they get a safe dropped on their head. Well, try to keep the safe from dropping on your head. That's what an intelligent person would do. If you've got good information, seems reasonable, write it down. Periodically review it. These books, if you take the proper notes and you look at the material, and every month or two you just kind of page through and look at them, these ideas are going to start being encoded in your brain box, so that when the situation occurs in the outside world, it'll trigger that memory. And in triggering that memory, it gives you a better opportunity of surviving that next problem that you have to solve. Use your heads. Don't be lazy. I'm teaching you survival skills for the world. If you want to survive with a minimum amount of pain, write it down. Nobody ever told me this stuff. I went out and lived it. I screwed up. I had a safe dropped on my head. I learned, but it was painful. I'm trying to keep you from having to experience that pain of getting knocked around. So try to take down some of these sayings that I give you, and then review them periodically, just so you can get them wired into your memory box. And it's not just the people that you're working with who you have to consider as part of your team. Look at how small the world is getting. Look at how many people from diverse backgrounds, different countries, different customs, different ways of thinking and doing things. It's a challenging environment, to say the least. An environment of constant change. And oftentimes, the best way of dealing with complex environments, particularly in conflict situations, is just listen. Listen. Don't think of the next opportunity to get your points out, because all that shows is that you really don't care what people think. Yours is more important, and you're just going to talk over them like you're playing a chess game, and now it's your move. No, that's not a successful strategy. When you don't understand, let's say, why a person is coming at a particular direction, why they're saying a particular thing that may be disruptive, your best strategy is to take it in, say, thank you for the information, be quiet, digest it. Then, maybe after the meeting, or after a class, or after a gathering, you very quietly go up to the person and say, could I have a minute or two of your time? I'm not clear on something. In other words, no you messages. Never, 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 never give out you messages. You said this, you did this. That immediately alienates. Always take it upon yourself. I didn't understand. Can you help me? You see the difference? in tone? You see the difference in reaching out than trying to force? So this way, if it's off to the side, no matter what is said, neither of you will be embarrassed by what is said. Discuss it calmly, rationally, and you don't necessarily have to come to a conclusion right then. You don't. You just say, okay, thank you for the information. Let me think about it. What you're doing is buying time. But don't just, throw it away because you just got out of the situation. The situation has not had closure. You must have closure at some point. The sooner the better. But find out the implications of what this person said. Does anything they said have merit? And if so, where does it fit? That's what a good leader does. A good leader, write this down, integrates the ideas of their team. Integrates the ideas of their team. Now, that doesn't mean you have to take all ideas. But if you do, again, go to the person and say, thank you. We can do this that you said over here, and I think that will benefit us. But if it doesn't, you say that, look, I've tried to consider your idea in light of our objectives and our other resources and what we have to accomplish. And in this particular instance, I can't fit it into our model. It may have great value in a different situation, but for today, we'll hold off on it, but do remember it, because we may find it useful in another project, right? Or another activity. So you're leaving an opening for the other person for success. Not just trashing their idea. So what we're doing is coming in for a soft landing instead of boom. You know what the boom means, don't you? You don't want to be doing crash landings, particularly with people. Try to land as softly as you can, but make sure that you complete the communication cycle. Okay? Leadership and responsibility. Lead while guiding. I really like this one. Use interpersonal and problem-solving skills to influence and guide others toward the goal. Involve strengths of others to accomplish a common goal. Inspire. There's that word under leadership. Inspire others to attain their best by example. So if you want somebody to be